Hey everyone, SweetJohnnyCage here, back with another guide for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, and as I'm sure you can tell by the length of this video, you're in for a treat. I am going to show you how to navigate the world of the Realm of Shadow. The map in the DLC area is quite confusing, there's not much topographical information, and I found myself lost all the time. Not lost in the sense of like, I don't know where I am, but lost in the sense of I don't know how to get to what I'm looking at. That is really difficult to do in the DLC, so I wanted to make this guide to help you out. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to reveal my fully completed map with all the sites of grace and everything right at the start of this video. So if you do not want to see that, consider this a spoiler warning and you should try to go find another video. But if you are okay with that, then we can continue. Okay, so the way this is going to work is, here's the completed map. It's quite beautiful. I'm going to show you along the way how to get all of the map fragments. There are a total of 5 of them throughout the world. And we're going to break this guide up into some sections, okay? So the first section that we're going to talk about is Gravesite Plain, which is where we are right now. It's the intro of the DLC. It's the first area you find. All of my world bosses are dead, so I'm going to have an easier time navigating everything throughout this world than you might. But I'll explain that bosses may be in the way and give some general tips of how to kill them. But check my channel for walkthroughs or guides for every single boss in the game so far. Okay, so we're going to start with Gravesite Plain, and then we're going to go to Ellac River, which is this river right here. There's quite a lot in this river, and this river actually leads to another area called the Cerulean Coast, which is down here. Within the Cerulean Coast, there is a legacy dungeon called the Fissure, or the Stone Coffin Fissure. However, this dungeon can only be accessed after a certain point in the DLC, but I'll still show you how to get there. After that, I'm going to tell you back on Gravesite Plain, there's a cave called the Dragon's Pit. This cave, once you finish it and kill the boss, there is a back exit. It is very obvious. It's a giant door in the boss room. This leads to the Dragon's Pit Terminus side of Grace and the foot of the Jagged Peak. And the Jagged Peak is this area over here where you fight one of the game's hardest bosses. But this also leads to this area down here, the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion, and then more importantly, this red area here, which is the hidden grave of Charo, or Charo's hidden grave. So that's going to be the next part that we talk about. After that, we are going to go up to Scadu Altus, which is reached after completing Castle Ensis. It can technically be reached without going through Castle Ensis via a spirit stream located right here, right at the like way below Fort of Reprimand. There's a way into Fort of Reprimand by skipping Castle Ensis, and I will show you that as well. But on Scadu Altus, which is up here, the map fragment is located right here, and then we'll talk about this area as well. From Scadu Altus, we're going to head to Rauh Base, which is this section of the map over here, this big green section. Funny enough, the green on this map is not actually where the map fragment is. The map fragment is located right here. However, that's at the base level of this region. But the map fragment for the base level really doesn't help you at the base level. It really just reveals the top level. It's kind of weird. But I'll show you how to get down there as well. After that, we're going to go back to Scadu Altus, and we're going to go through this place right here, which is called Shadow Keep. Shadow Keep is sort of the central legacy dungeon. There's actually a legacy dungeon within a legacy dungeon here, so there's a lot to do there. Shadow Keep leads to quite a few places. It leads to the Castle Watering Hole, which is down here, and then all of this leads down here into the Abyssal Woods. So I'll show you how to get there as well. In order to reach the Abyssal Woods, you have to go through this dungeon here, the Darklight Catacombs, which is quite tricky, but it's not. It has a linear path through it. It's just hard to navigate. But once you go through that, you'll have access to the Abyssal Woods. After I show you how to get down there, we are going to talk about this area right here, Moorth Ruins, back on Scadu Altus. Moorth Ruins has a pit and a cave that leads to Bonny Village, which then leads to this whole section of the map, including the Hinterland over here. So there's quite a lot there, and then we're going to finish this up by talking about sort of like the last story area of the game, which is the ancient ruins of Rauh, which is the green area up here. And then once you finish that, you sort of go into the final part of the game that you just kind of get sent to, but it is within the world. Don't worry, it's not like somewhere else. It's just kind of like a quick shortcut after you do something. Okay, so that's the structure of the guide. Took 5 minutes to explain. It's going to take even longer to get through, but I hope you find this guide helpful. So let's start here in Gravesite Plain. I'm going to change the time of day to morning just to try to get rid of some of this fog. The Land of Shadow is covered in shadow, and it's quite dark, and it can be tricky to navigate. That didn't do anything, but that's okay. All right, so from this first site of grace, we're going to go to where the map fragment is, right here. We're going to set a marker along this road. It's just south of the Scorched Ruins. Okay, the fog has started to dissipate. All right, so there will be a furnace golem prowling just past the Scorched Ruins here. Furnace golems can be defeated most of the time just by chopping at their legs. They will eventually go down, and then you just get a critical on the mask. There have to be like a glowing orb on the mask. You do that a couple times, they go down. So that's Gravesite Plain, but now we need to talk about Ellac River. So the Ellac River runs alongside the eastern sort of shore of Gravesite Plain. So what we're going to do is, because I can't bring up my map because that guy's still aggroed. Oh, we can now. Great. Okay, so we're going to bring up the map, and then what we're going to do is we are going to assume that you've been to 3 Path Cross. If you go over here, this is probably like one of the first legacy dungeons you want to do. This is Bellyrat Tower Settlement. It's a linear path there. It's not hidden or anything. But we're going to assume that you want to cross Ellac Bridge and then go to the Castlefront Site of Grace. That's where we're going to go now, and we're going to make our way towards Ellac River. Ellac River is pretty long. It's really just like... It's just a place that you traverse. There's not a ton there. There is a cave dungeon there for you to do, though, but it really just leads somewhere else. So from this Site of Grace, we're going to go down this road, and there's actually a couple of different ways to do this, but this is like the most direct way that I want to show you. So you can either go down this road and then just like hug the left ridge, and eventually you'll sort of get sent down to like this poisonous area with the Vulgar Militia. However, there's another way to do this, and that's by coming over here to this little encampment. And you'll notice that there's a guy looking over this cliff, and there's also a treasure on that corpse, and he's looking over the cliff because we can actually jump down it. So we're going to jump all the way down here. And again, like, there's other ways to get here, but it all leads to the same place. This is just the most direct way, in my opinion. So we're going to... Whoa, I can't believe I didn't just die from that. So we're going to go all the way down here, keep jumping down the cliffs. And if you had gone down that road that I mentioned, you would eventually get spit out right here. But it just, I don't know, there's a lot of Vulgar Militia there. There's a lot of poison there, so I recommend just doing it this way. But once you reach the bottom of this basin, you want to run toward the Miranda Flower, and then there is a cave entrance right here. So we're going to come over here, hop up here, and then go through here. And then in this room is going to be a Site of Grace. Sorry, next room. There's going to be a Revered Spirit Ash on that statue, and then in this room there is a Site of Grace. Okay, so now we're at the Ellac River Site of Grace. So we literally just went from the castle front and then kind of fell down here and then came over here. So again, the map itself is like kind of confusing to look at when you are trying to get anywhere, but this is Ellac River. So Ellac River, you have a couple choices. If you come out here, you're going to be presented with a fork. You can either follow the river downstream or upstream. If you were to choose to go upstream, you will eventually come across the Rivermouth Cave, and that is a dungeon that has a reward at the end. So I highly recommend doing that before going downstream, but that's really all that's up there. So we're going to go downstream, and then we are going to continue to follow the waterfalls as we go. So we have to jump and navigate these pillars very carefully. If you fall in, it's not the end of the world. You can die if you fall from a great height, but you're generally fine. So watch out for these Deathbird gargoyle things. They will try to mess up your day. Almost just killed myself. Let's follow this route. Come along here. Very good. Oof. Okay, keep going. All right, very good. And then we're going to plop down here along some more pillars. All right, great. And now we are at the next Site of Grace. Cool. So this is Ellac River downstream, but as you can tell on the map, it doesn't look like we're in a river. It just looks like we're back on Gravesite Plain. But again, that's because there's no topographical indication on this map. I mean, there sort of is. Like, the darker the ridges are, that means the steeper the drop, but it's really not that helpful. Okay, cool. So we're going to continue downstream, and we are going to fall closer and closer to the edge. Now, just as a little hint, if you were to come over here onto this rock that's jutting out, there will be a pot hanging from a string on the pillar that's jutting down. Shoot that down and get the treasure. I do believe it's a cookbook, if I remember correctly. And then there's also another one upstream near the cave entrance. Okay, so now we're at the base of Ellac River. There will be a furnace golem in this river, and there's also a bunch of lightning rams in this field over here, so just be careful when navigating. But it shouldn't give you too much trouble. And again, I do have a guide for how to kill that furnace golem on my channel. So we're going to continue through here. And then to the south over here on our right, there will be a clearing, and then this leads to the Cerulean coast. Now, I will show you how to get the Cerulean coast map fragment, but just be aware that there will be a ghost flame dragon in your way. I do recommend killing it. It's not too difficult, especially if you have a sacred weapon available to you. If you don't, recommend changing your Ash of War and your affinity to Sacred Blade to give yourself that affinity. So this is the Cerulean coast. The Ghost Flame Drake will be right around here to sort of chillin', and once he wakes up, he tries to kill you. But for the map fragment, we're just going to go straight ahead underneath this gigantic coffin and through this sort of clearing in the ridge here. And there will be the map stele with the map fragment on it. The Cerulean coast is an interesting area, and the reason I say that is because the map fragment is actually the map fragment for multiple locations. Gravesite Plain's map fragment is basically just Gravesite Plain, but the Cerulean coast fragment is called Southern Coast. It's not called Cerulean Coast. So the map fragment will be right here, and then it will uncover like this whole southern section. So you'll notice this red area. This is called, like I said before, Charo's Hidden Grave. It's a pretty big area. And then we also have this area. You can see on the map this dead dragon. We're going to ride along that dragon to get to Charo's Hidden Grave. But it also has these finger ruins down here, which I'll show you how to get to in a moment. But then we also have Jagged Peak as part of this map fragment as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to warp, but you basically just want to follow this road in this direction. There will be a troll throwing pots at you, but if you kill him, you get a hefty cracked pot. But then you just want to get all the way to the top of this section right here. So, oh, I thought there was a warp up there. Oh, there is. No, there is not. Okay, let's just ride up. So, the troll is dead in my playthrough. I believe he stays dead. You can ignore these blue guys. You can kill them if you like, but there's no real need. You can just ignore them. But we're going to come up here, and then on the sort of top of this area, there is going to be a big hole within the mountain. So we are going to gracefully fall down the mountain and into a cave. And I'll show you the entrance right here. So we come up here, and then this central section is actually open. So there's a lot of ooze here. That ooze is weak to fire, just like all the other ooze. And if you come over here, you can see that you're actually able to fall down these cliffs. So if we were to continuously fall down these cliffs, we would eventually end up at a site of grace called the Fissure, which is right here. I'm just going to warp to make this quicker. There will be a seal of Miquella over this cave entrance right here. This will be sealed. This does not break until Miquella's Great Rune breaks, and that is something that happens automatically when you reach a certain point in the game. It's literally a proximity thing. So basically, once you reach Shadow Keep, or even get close to Shadow Keep, which is past Castle Ensis, once you get here, or alternatively, if you were trying to go the back way, I have tested this myself, once you get about here on the map, the Great Rune will break. It's just something that happens in the world. It says a Great Rune, somewhere a Great Rune has shattered and a charm has broken. Once that happens, the seal on this cave at the Fissure will break as well, and then you can actually access this area. It's a very important area to the story, so I do recommend coming back and doing it, but just activate the Site of Grace at any time, and then you can come back later. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to mention with the Cerulean Coast is how to get to the Finger Ruins. So, if we were to come up here to the Cerulean Coast Cross, you can begin to fall down these coffins, and then you'll end up on a beach. Now, if you look very closely at the map, there is a path that is traced here. This is a sandbar. The water is very shallow, and you can just ride along it. You will not fall. Just be careful of the finger creepers that are everywhere on this beach. But you can just ride along the path, and then you will come up to the Finger Ruins of Rauh. One other thing that I wanted to mention is right up here on this cliff, there is a mausoleum that you can duplicate your remembrances at. It is not one of those big walking turtle things. It's literally just a bed with a corpse that you can duplicate your remembrance at. So, I'm just going to take a quick drink. All right, that is it for the Cerulean Coast and the Finger Ruins. So, even though we have the Southern Coast map fragment, most of the Southern Coast is not accessible from this area. So we have to go back to Gravesite Plain, and our next destination is Dragon's Pit. So, what we can do is from the Castle Front Site of Grace, which is the same Site of Grace we used a moment ago to reach the Cerulean Coast, we're going to take a different path. And our destination is going to be the Dragon's Pit. The Dragon's Pit is a cave dungeon that has a boss at the end, and after you kill the boss, you'll be able to access Jagged Peak as well as Charo's hidden grave. So, our destination is going to be up this road, follow the path, and then eventually you will get to the Dragon's Pit. So it's a pretty straightforward path. I'm just going to make a marker about here. This way I can keep track of where we're going. And we'll cut through this encampment and begin our journey. Okay, so we're going to come up here. And instead of going down and instead of going straight ahead towards the cliff, we're going to hook a right and then begin our journey up this road. This road is somewhat heavily guarded because this is the Castle Ensis area and these guards are defending the castle, so just be careful. If you were to go that way to the left, there will be a Miquella's Cross and a Site of Grace, as well as an NPC named Tialie, and Tialie is quite friendly, and he is helpful to you in your journey. All right, so we're going to continue along here. And then this is the Pillar of Suppression. That is apparently the dead center of the world, so it's an interesting little thing. There is a Site of Grace up on this ridge that you can get to. Where is it? Yep, right here. So be sure to rest at the Site of Grace right here, and then we're going to continue our journey towards the Dragon Pit Cave, which is just a straight shot through here. Your first time through here, there will be an NPC on the ground screaming his lungs out. His name is Egon. He's quite angry at a dragon named Bale. And then you'll also get invaded by an NPC invader named the Ancient Dragon Man. So you want to defeat him and then continue along this path, and then eventually you will enter the Dragon's Pit. Continue along here. Through all these dragon statues, you can see a brazier out here, and then inside is the Dragon's Pit. Okay, so this is the Dragon's Pit, and it may just look like your typical cave dungeon, but there is more to do. So I'm going to show you like the critical path through this place. We're not going to actually do everything, but if you have a sacred weapon, you'll find it very, very helpful here, because if you kill an undead enemy with a sacred weapon, you don't have to kill it twice. It just dies. Okay, so we're going to continue along this path, along this ridge. Ow. We're going to come over here, jump down. Okay, turn around, come through here. And then there's a message that says, "Be brave, show no fear." And just like Indiana Jones, you want to walk across the invisible bridge. Oh no, just kidding, it's a pit. But you won't die jumping into this pit. Cool. At the bottom of this pit, there will be a boss fog. Kill that boss. It is the Ancient Dragon Man. And then you will continue through here. Do not take the teleporter to the entrance. Instead, open this door. There's no special requirements to open the door, aside from killing the boss. Open the door and then continue through the cave. There will be another site of grace right here, which is the Dragon's Pit Terminus, which is right here. Okay, so the Dragon's Pit was here. We're now at the Dragon's Pit Terminus. Okay. So, now that we are here at the Dragon's Pit Terminus, we can mount Torrent once more, since we're outside. Very good. And then there is going to be a boss fight at the foot of the Jagged Peak in this open pit of water. That is going to be a Jagged Peak Drake. It's just your typical dragon fight with some lightning mixed in between. Just be careful of the water because lightning does ripple off of water. And then from here we have a choice. We can either go to the left, and this leads to Jagged Peak, the actual top of Jagged Peak. It's a somewhat linear path with some jet streams or spirit streams, so just go up there and then you'll continue to climb the mountain, no problem. The path that I'm going to show you manually, though, is this one. So we're going to go straight on through, and this is going to lead to Charo's hidden grave. Now, this area does take a while to reach. Oh, sorry, not straight ahead. You're going to go this way. My bad. Sorry about that. So, this archway leads to Jagged Peak. This way down leads to Charo's hidden grave. Sorry about that. So, the first real destination that we're going to reach is a Dragon Communion site. And using the Dragon Hearts that we get from the DLC, and after we kill a certain boss, you'll be able to purchase new Dragon incantations that are unique to the DLC. So we're going to come through here, we're going to keep going, and eventually we're going to come across the carcass of an ancient dragon. Right there. Ain't that a beaut? Don't worry, it won't come alive. It's not going to try to kill you, but I like that its eyeball's still there. I kind of wish it was like an item or something, but it doesn't seem to be. So this is the Grand Altar of Dragon Communion with the Site of Grace, which is right here. Okay. And then this is that ancient dragon that has now a corpse. So you can commune with this altar and purchase new incantations. But our destination is Charo's hidden grave, so we're going to ride along the dragon. And what's interesting is you'll find items along this dragon, and they are ancient dragon spears. Something like that. Okay, and here we are at Charo's hidden grave, the red area just above the Cerulean coast. There will be a site of grace not too far down this path. Right. Yeah, it actually is kind of far. It's up here. So basically just keep navigating through, and then you see that circle kind of where my helmet is. That circle leads to the Site of Grace. There will be a Tibia Mariner here that summons a Revenant, so just have heal available and a seal to use it really fast to kill it and have it not harass you. But that's Charo's hidden grave. It's its own area, but that's all that needs to be explained. Go explore that. There's no more hidden areas of that place, so it's just a new zone. Go for it. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go to Scadu Altus. Now, I mentioned before that there is a hidden path to Scadu Altus. The intended path is for you to go back to the Castle Front Side of Grace and go through Castle Ensis. Castle Ensis is a really cool legacy dungeon with a great final boss, and it does lead directly out to the High Road Cross on Scadu Altus. However, there is a hidden way to get to Scadu Altus, and that is via the Fort of Reprimand. So, what we are going to do is we are going to warp to the Pillar Path Cross here, and we are going to go back down that to that poisonous area. And that poisonous area is going to lead to the hidden section. So, I just want to check really quick. Yeah, this should be fine. Okay, great. So, let's go back to where that gentleman was overlooking the cliff, and then we will be able to reach the hidden entrance to Scadu Altus. Now, there is a note that an NPC sells, and that note is called Sealed Spirit Springs. Sealed Spirit Springs are spirit springs that have to be unlocked. And you'll notice that they look like spirit springs, but the jet stream that's shooting up from them really doesn't work, and it's quite small. There will be a circle of rocks near any of these sealed spirit springs. The circle of rocks has to be broken, and then that spirit spring will come into full effect. So I will show you the location of both. So we're going to continue down here, keep falling along the ridge. And again, you can do Castle Ensis. In fact, I highly recommend you do Castle Ensis. But you don't have to. Okay, so this is the cave that leads to Ellac River. Instead of going through that cave, we're going to come back up here. And then our destination is going to be a shack. Now, unfortunately, I've aggroed that Vulgar Militia, so I cannot open my map. I've aggroed some more, but it's okay. It's coming up here. We're just going to go across this poison pit, and then we're going to turn left. And we're going to cross another poison pit over here, past this Miranda Bloom. And then over here, there's going to be a shack, and we're looking at Jagged Peak right now. So you can see the Spirit Spring over here. This Spirit Spring is active, however, you got to find the Circle of Rocks to activate it. Thought I had it on my map, but I don't. The Circle of Rocks should be right over here somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like right above it. I wish I had marked it on my map. It's right here. Okay, so that's the shack. There will be a rock circle right here. Just hit it with your weapon, and then the Spirit Spring will become active. And then we can jump up the Spirit Spring. And then you can see the base of the Fort of Reprimand, so that's where we're going. Come along here, jump up the next Spirit Spring, and then you'll come to the back side of the Fort of Reprimand, and this is the only way to access this part of the fort. There is an omen for you to kill here, and then there is a treasure, I believe, on a corpse here as well. So what we can do is I will kill this omen really quick, and then we'll jump into the Fort of Reprimand and run out really quick. This way we can get to the next site of grace. Great. Okay, so we're going to jump over here. We're going to jump up, and then there's another site of grace right here for us. Let's rest here. And then I'm actually going to change the time of day back to morning. This way we get some more daylight. Great. Okay, so here we are at the Fort of Reprimand. This is technically Scadu Altus, but we have skipped Castle Ensis. So what we can do is we can actually just jump off of this area. Actually, we're not going to survive that. So let's just go out the front door. Easiest way to do that. I'm just trying to see if I'll survive. A tip that I give in all my videos is use rainbow stones. If the rainbow stone doesn't break, that means you'll survive the fall. The same is not to be said about glowstones. Glowstones will never break. But if the rainbow stone doesn't break, that means you'll survive it at max health. Beautiful, look at that. Okay, so there is another site of grace available just over here. So this site of grace is the Moorth Highway South. And then if we were to go through this cavern down this road, we'll come out to an encampment. However, our first time through here, there will be an undead dragon that is fighting an army. You want to wait for the dragon to kill the army before you try to fight the dragon. Otherwise, you're going to get mixed up in their politics, and it's not going to work out well for you. But continue on through, and then this is going to bring us to Scadu Altus. You could see Shadow Keep right there in the distance. This road is heavily patrolled by these knights on horseback, wielding great hammers and twin blades and all manner of things, so be careful of them. So this is Moorth Ruins. More on this in a bit. Instead, I'm going to warp to the High Road Cross just to make this go by a little bit quicker. But this is the site of grace that you will find yourself in front of once you finish Castle Ensis, and you can also just come here manually just by following the road from Moorth Ruins, go north, and then south, and you're here. Okay, so there will be some NPCs here your first time around. Most notable, though, there will be a note here along with an emote called May the Best Win, and it tells you to find a monk and challenge him. That monk is actually right at the Moorth Ruins site of grace. Just use the emote in front of him, and you'll challenge him to a boss fight and get a pretty good reward. Our mission here, though, is for the map fragment of Scadu Altus, and that is just down the road. This will be guarded. You can see that knight on horseback right there. That's actually the same one from before. But this will also be guarded by a Furnace Golem. Again, I have a guide for that Furnace Golem on my channel in case you need help. But the map stele is right here. So be sure to grab that map fragment. And then you'll be good to go. Okay, so there is a fort here that I want to show you. And that is this one right here. It's the Fog Rift Fort. You may have noticed it. There will be some enemies like chucking pots at you from up on these scaffoldings right here on the map. And this happens when you're near the castle front, near Castle Ensis. You may be wondering, how do I get there? Well, I'm very, very happy to tell you. So we are located right here on the map. If we were to go further south and then along this ridge, we would end up at the Scadu Altus West side of Grace. And from this side of Grace, we can actually fall down the ridge carefully and end up within the fort. So you see this sort of campsite here at the side of Grace. If you were to just fall down the ridges here, right here, if you were to just fall down and continue to fall, you would end up within the fort. So I'll show you here. Just jump here, fall here, and then, hey, you are in the Fog Rift Fort. So there you go. That's how you get to that fort. Okay, so that's Scadu Altus in general. Again, be very careful. If you were to get to about here on the map, this is where Miquella's Great Rune breaks. When Miquella's Great Rune breaks, it opens up the rift down here. It allows you to explore the Stone Coffin Fissure. However, it also alters NPCs. So NPCs will no longer be under Miquella's charm, so they will stop working together, and some of them will want to kill each other. So it's very important that you progress any NPC quest lines in the way that you want to before walking toward Shadow Keep. And again, if you were to choose to do the back door to Shadow Keep, or the back side of Shadow Keep, once you reach this side of Grace here, the bridge leading to the village, it'll break as well. So there's really no way to prevent it from breaking. I have tried. Okay, the next section that I want to talk about is Rauh Base, which is over here, this northwest section of the map, and in particular, the map fragment here. This area is reached via Scadu Altus. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Moorth Ruins side of Grace, and then our destination is going to be a cave right here. So let's warp there now. Okay, and then we're going to go to our marker, which is to the northeast. Okay, there's this lake with all the blue guys, and there will be a statue of Marika just outside of a cave entrance. And this cave leads to an entirely new section of the map. My first time through this cave, I got the items and left. I did not see the back exit. So I got distracted by the pretty tree and the perfumers. I killed them and left, but I did not see this particular exit. Okay, so now that we are here, we can go to the next map fragment. So we're going to follow this poisonous road. Again, do your best to avoid all of the Deathbird gargoyle guys. They can breathe Death Flame and deal quite a lot of damage to you very quickly. Some of them also have ring incantations, which aren't fun. So do your best to use the ridges as sort of shields to your back as best as you can. But we're going to continue southwest along this poison swamp, and we will eventually get to a site of grace where we can kind of like reset the aggro here. All right, come down here to Rauh Base, and then the site of grace will be right in front of us. So we're going to rest there to reset the aggro. Okay, aggro's reset anyway. Okay, cool. So here we are at the Rauh Base. So again, we started at Moorth Ruins. We came to this lake here. We went through a secret cave and came out the other side to the Ancient Ruins base. So if we were to just go south along this road, we would find the map stele. It is going to be guarded by a couple of stone golems, one of which is an archer. The other one is just a straight-up melee guy. I actually realized the other day when I was here that you can use crystal darts on stone golems and they will fight each other. They don't deal a ton of damage to each other, but it is pretty cool. I never really thought to use crystal darts on these guys. I only ever used them on imps and Erdtree burial watchdogs, so that's interesting. Okay, so we're going to avoid the archer. Eventually, the second golem in the distance will activate. So I'm going to try to use this Rune to block the shot. Perfect. And then we're going to sort of skirt around here and then get back on the road. And eventually, we are going to run into the Temple Town ruins, and the map stele will be right in front of it. Ooh, that was a deep shot. Okay, cool. And here is the map stele. Right here. So this is the map stele for... I thought that was about to hit me. Where are we at? Key items for Rauh ruins. So right here. Okay, so unfortunately, I am locked in combat here, so let me try to get out. Okay, cool. Temple Town ruins. That was the map fragment. Okay, now we need to talk about Shadow Keep. Shadow Keep is a legacy dungeon, however, it is quite small. This is one of the only bosses, aside from the Ancient Dragon Man, that you actually need to kill to access the rest of this game. So, this is the second side of grace. That's the first side of grace right there. You'll have to kill the boss in this room. This is the Golden Hippopotamus. And then from here, you have a couple of choices. You can continue on through Shadow Keep and find your way to the Specimen Storehouse, which is another legacy dungeon. Like I said, there's a legacy dungeon and a legacy dungeon. And that legacy dungeon does lead to a very important story boss, although not mandatory, weirdly enough. Actually, it is. Sorry, that boss is mandatory, but not mandatory enough to reach other places. But you do have to kill that boss to finish the game. Okay, so there is another exit from this place, and it is hidden, and that's the one that I want to talk about next. So, if you were to go down this path, this corridor, you would eventually get to this big open area behind this statue, and you can unlock a shortcut there if you just come down the giant grand staircase. So I'm going to assume that you have that shortcut open, and I'm also just going to kill these guys so they don't bother us. There's quite a lot of militia guys here. Okay, great. So eventually your adventuring will lead you to this room, or this big area, and then you just have to go down this big staircase, this big ramp, and then open the shortcut. So it all leads to the same place. Once you're in this area with the burning boats, you know you're in the right place. If you were to go forward, that would lead you to the Specimen Storehouse. More on that later. It's only guarded by the one fire monk, but our destination is actually going to be over here. So, if we were to come over here, there is a corpse with a treasure on it, but also, more importantly, a ladder. We're going to take this ladder down, and then that waterfall... Oh, hello. Goodbye. This waterfall is obfuscating a secret passageway. We're going to come down here. Oof, that was a lot of damage. There you go. Now you're dead. I was going to say, I'm going to kill that guy when I get down there, but he did it for me. So in this secret passageway, there's going to be a painting called Domain of the Dragons. Again, I have a guide for that on my channel. But most importantly, there's an illusory wall right here. You want to make sure you break it and remember that you broke it, because I forgot it and searched for this area for days. And then you're going to come down here, and then there's going to be a coffin. You want to get into this coffin and ride it to the bottom, because Souls games love coffin teleporters. I don't know what it is about Miyazaki and his crew, but boy, do they love them. Okay, so at the bottom of where this coffin spits you out is going to be another section of Scadu Altus called the Castle Watering Hole. So now we have access to this entire section of river, this whole area, and finally the Abyssal Woods. So this area is quite large. It is a linear path, and it has a couple of branches that leads like the Village of the Flies and a couple of sub-bosses. Like there's a couple of hippos here to kill for Erdtree fragments. There's also this mausoleum here, which has a boss, kind of like an Everjail. But for the most part, just keep following the river downstream, and then eventually you will end up at the Darklight Catacombs. The Darklight Catacombs, similar to the Dragon's Pit, is a dungeon with a back exit. When you kill the boss, or when you reach the boss room is the back exit. You will be spit out into the Forsaken Graveyard. So again, it's a linear path down the river, couple of branches, but they all lead back to the same place, and then eventually you will find yourself here in the Abyssal Woods. So there's a warning on the ground saying it awaits inside, and there are more and more messages here to scare you to death. So, I'm going to leave the surprise, but what I will say is try parrying. But most importantly, you just want to follow this road along the ridgeline. Be careful to follow the ridgeline, and then eventually you will find the church ruins back here, and the map stele is in the church ruins. Again, try parrying. You might be surprised. And then the map stele is just outside of the church ruins. Cool. So all the enemies here can inflict frenzy. Just be very careful with them. And because they are frenzied animals, sometimes they just aggro to you. But the map stele is here. And then you got to navigate these woods and find your way to the legacy dungeon down here, which is Midra's Manse. So again, be careful, but have fun. All right. Now that we've done the Abyssal Woods and the Castle Watering Hole, now let's go back to Shadow Keep. And we are going to enter the Specimen Storehouse. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to Main Gate Plaza. And then we're going to basically take the same route, except we're not going to go down that ladder. Instead, we're going to go toward that fire monk that I mentioned and go into the Specimen Storehouse. So I'm going to ignore all these enemies. Hopefully they don't harass me too much. And we're just going to go straight ahead. Now, the Specimen Storehouse is one of my favorite dungeons ever. It has a really cool vertical design, lots of shortcuts, lots of recursive world design. It's really, really cool. Oh boy, the elevator is not here, and now I have this fire monk to contend with. Let's recall the elevator, and hopefully we can kill this guy quickly. I was hoping to have a heavy weapon on me, but I do not. Hi. Oh, of course you get on the elevator with me. Of course. This is the problem with live guides. Sometimes you gotta deal with these guys. Ugh. Okay, great. Now we are here in the Specimen Storehouse. So again, this is an entire legacy dungeon with a big boss at the top of it, but there is more to this place than meets the eye. I'm not going to take you all the way through this Specimen Storehouse. That is better suited to a walkthrough, which I am in the process of making. But I do want to show you that there is another way to go through here, and that is just by turning left at the first site of grace. And then, of course, the elevator isn't here. We're going to recall this elevator, and then we're going to go down the elevator. And I'm going to quickly, blitz through this area. I'm not going to fight anything. And I am going to take a jump that's kind of like a shortcut, but it's not a maze or a labyrinth or anything. It's a pretty straightforward place. Just has a lot of side rooms and antechambers. So, I'm just trying to make this quicker for the sake of an already 43-minute video. But this is a big world in the DLC, so I do hope folks are finding this helpful as we go. All right. So we should send that elevator back up. So this is the bottom level of the Specimen Storehouse. We're going to take a right. Be careful because an enemy's going to jump out of here. Very good. And then we're going to jump over this railing. This enemy in particular is quite tough, so get away from it if you're just trying to blitz through this area like I am. And then we're going to continue to run straight past all these pots. Okay. Come over here. There's going to be another one right there. But our destination is right here. Okay, so we've got this site of grace. And then the big door does not open, but the small door next to it does. So we're going to rest here. You want to cross the bridge on the other side. It does take a while, but once you get to the other side of the bridge, which is this big bridge right here, you're going to find yourself at an elevator, and then you're going to find yourself in front of the Viaduct Minor Tower side of grace, which is right here. These are the ancient ruins of Rauh. This will look a little bit different to you. I've already beaten the DLC, so things will look a tiny bit different for you. But this place is a bit of a nightmare to navigate, and it's why I wanted to pick up this map fragment at Rauh Base before coming here, because now you can at least see where you're going. I'm not going to bring you all the way through this area step by step. Again, that's better suited for a full walkthrough, which I am in the process of making. But I did want to point out a section of this place that you may be wondering how on earth to reach, and it is this building right here where my helmet is. There is a stone golem archer that will be planted right where my helmet is now, and he will harass you in the exterior sections of this zone, and I'm going to show you how to get to him. So, we're going to start at the Miquella's Cross side of Grace at Rauh Ancient Ruins East. All right, at this side of Grace, we're going to cross this bridge right here. And then we're going to drop down to another bridge. And you can see that building from the distance is now right there. And the Stone Archer Golem will be up there beginning to harass you if you're unlucky. Yep, see him right there. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to us right now, which is nice. There will be a Furnace Golem here as well. It's a typical Furnace Golem fight. Hack away at its legs till it falls, and then get the critical on the mask. So we're going to come through here, and this is where the Furnace Golem will be. And then we're going to continue on this way, up this hill to another side of Grace. I did just want to show you how to get here. And then we are now going to go through some of the ruins very quickly. So we have this side of Grace right here, which is this one, Rauh Ancient Ruins West. So we're going to turn to our right and head southwest into the ruins and up the stairs. Be careful of the bouncing fireball. That's mostly there to deal damage to Torrent and knock you off the horse. The Ox, Spectral Steed. Turn right. And then we're going to go straight and then down this left path. Just be careful because one of those ascetic karate guys is waiting for you. We're going to come over here and then we're going to go up this elevator. Okay, be sure to send it back down. This way you don't have to deal with the ascetic guy again. Then you want to immediately turn left. And then now we have these like rooftops here. So we're going to fall. And then we're going to fall again right here. Take a little bit of damage. It's okay. All right, then we're going to follow this structure here. I'm going to just double jump to make this quicker. And then I do want to tell you, if you continue along this path and then go left, you'll find a treasure. And then that will spit you out right here, this little cubby hole. Why are the elevators never here when I need them? Okay, then we're going to recall this elevator and then take it back up. And then this is actually going to lead to that section with the Stone Golem Archer. And there's also a boss there for us to kill. It's already dead. Again, guide is on the channel waiting for you already. Okay, so take the elevator back up. Perfect, and here we are. So now we are on the big sort of bridge area with the Stone Golem. Wait, I'm facing the wrong direction. It is this way, hello. And there's a side of Grace just over here. Very good, so the Stone Golem is right where my helmet is. You can see him readying an arrow. I'm gonna rest of the side of Grace to stop him from doing that. Cool, so that is the Ancient Ruins of Rauh. It's a maze, it's a labyrinth. There's also an invisible bridge here. For that tower, where you see it right there, that tower has an invisible bridge associated with it. Find this, I think it's called the Stone Sword, or the sword in the stone sheath, something like that, and then go over there and something will happen. Okay, so that is a lot of the map. However, there's one section we have not spoken about, and that is the final section, and that's the northeast section. This whole area is reached in a really peculiar way. So, we're going to go back to Scadu Altus. We're going to go to Moorth Ruins now. Moorth Ruins is a bombed-out town that is probably has some story behind it about being subjected to the horrors of Mesmer's war and his crusade. However, it does lead to an entire new section of the map. So from Moorth Ruins, we're going to enter the town right here, and then we're going to find a very specific hole to drop down. So come over here. Come up here. And then we can drop down here. So jump onto this roof, and you can stay on Torrent the entire time. Come down here, enter this cave. There will be some dogs here to harass you. Just be aware of them. Okay. Come down here. Come down here. Oh, hello. Come down here and into this cave. Very good. And then we're going to go up this ladder. And then we're going to come out in a place called Bonny Village. quite a long ladder. Okay, welcome to Bonny Village. So we have this side of Grace right here, and now we are on the other side of the map. Great. So I do have a marker set right here, and that is for a very important reason. Let's head there now. The reason I have this marker is because there is an emote on a corpse in that area. So there's this big wilted tree in this area. And right in front of the wilted tree will be a corpse with an emote on it. So here's my marker, and this is the tree I was referring to. So on this corpse will be an emote called Oh Mother, which is... Where'd it go? Right here. Oh Mother is a really, really important emote, and we need it to access an entire section of the map. So, really important that you get the Oh Mother emote while here in Bonny Village. Now that you've reached Bonny Village, it's a fairly linear path. Don't forget to cross this bridge, though, because there is a dungeon here called Bonny Jail. Really important dungeon. It's optional, but, you know, there's just some good treasure in there. But you cross that bridge to go there. For our purposes, though, we're going to continue to cross this bridge, go along this very linear path, and then we're going to come over here to the Church District High Road side of Grace. The Church District is a backside of Shadow Keep. It's visible from certain sections of Shadow Keep, but the way you reach it is through here. I also do want to mention that there is a cathedral over here called the Cathedral of Manus Metir. This cathedral holds a really important quest that has to deal with all the finger ruins that you find in the world, such as the finger ruins of Deo or the finger ruins of Rauh. And it leads to, again, a big quest line that has a secret boss at the end of it. Again, I have a guide for that quest line and boss fight on my channel, so go check that out if you need. But did want to point it out just in case you haven't been there. But for our purposes, what we're going to do is we are instead going to follow this road and over here to the Church District entrance. So let's follow this, and it's a pretty obvious looking structure, and you can see Shadow Keep right there. It's sort of the central thing in the world. Everything kind of runs through Shadow Keep. It was Mesmer's crusade on behalf of America, so everything should run through it if you think about it. We're going to come through here, and then I will warn you, this is going to look a little different from me, similar to the ancient ruins, because I've already done a couple things here. But when you first reach this place, it's going to be flooded. And I literally mean flooded. It's going to kind of resemble New Londo ruins in a sense. And then once you reach this ramp, we're going to get dismounted, so I'm going to just hop off, stop that from happening. But this place will be flooded similar to New Londo ruins in Dark Souls 1. I already have it drained. I'll show you the location of the drain as well as where we need to go. So, starting off, we are going to jump onto this rooftop, and this is the same exact route you will take when the place is flooded, so don't worry, this all still works. We're going to come over here, and then you want to get onto this window ledge here, and then jump onto the next building, turn right, walk along this rooftop here, jump up, jump up, jump up, come over here, and then jump onto this rooftop, but it is guarded by a Mesmer Fire Monk, so we need to try to deal with him, and I recommend killing him and not attempting to skip him because he has this really annoying fireball that can hit you in midair if you are not careful, and you don't want it to hit you in midair because we need to make a really precarious jump in order to get to the next section. So apologies if this takes me a moment, but it is really important that you kill this guy because he will try to stop you from getting to the next area. Oh my god. Okay, great. So that's that guy. Once he's dead, you want to continue along this rooftop, and then we are going to jump onto this section here. Great. And then you want to come up onto this rooftop, and then be very careful as you approach the top because it is bombed out. And so we want to then drop onto this rafter right here. Very good. Oh, wow. Okay, well, that stinks, and this video is not edited, so I'm going to live with that death, and we're just going to have to redo this. Apologies for dying there. I did not realize that that section would be taken out. My bad, everybody. I'm going to warp to that first side of Grace, though, to make this go a little bit faster. Okay. Back in the Shadowkeep Church District. Do the same thing, same route. We're assuming that it's still flooded, so I want to be sure to show you all of this. Okay, up here. I can't believe I killed the monk, didn't die to that jump, but died in another way. This game always humbles you. You are never the master of these games. You will always die. I love it. Okay, great. I'm going to attempt to risk it, and I'm just going to do the jump without killing this guy. I know it's probably really stupid. But, okay. I didn't hear him hit another fireball, so I figured we were okay. Very good. Whew, all right. So, let's drop again. Drop here. And then drop here. Perfect. Okay, so if you're wondering, I'll explain this really quick. I gotta kill this crab now. If you're wondering how to open this door, it will be locked. You need a key. The way to get that key is to go to Bellyrat Tower Settlement. I believe it's right around here. You'll get invaded. It's near a tree. You'll get invaded by somebody. That's the first invasion. The second invasion by the same person happens at the Church of the Crusade, which is just west of the High Road Cross side of Grace. After the second invasion, the invader will drop a key. That key opens that door, and you will find him inside there with a quest. Or a couple choices, I should say. It's not like a full-blown quest. Okay, so I'm trying to avoid this monk, but it's okay. I'm going to run and talk because I don't want to deal with this guy. So basically what you want to do is if you want to drain the place, follow this path, and then you'll find the drain switch. But that is not why we are here. We are here because we need to go to a secret entrance of the Specimen Storehouse. So we're going to turn left here, and of course this elevator's up. I completely forgot to retract this one, but we should be okay. Pull the switch here, and then, yeah, luckily that guy's going to leave us alone, which is nice. Hopefully he doesn't reach us in time. Gonna come back here. Maybe that'll drop the aggro. But the elevator will come back down. It's a very long one. But this elevator will lead to the backside of the Specimen Storehouse to an area called the Loft. The Loft then leads to another section of Scadu Altus, which is the back section, or the northernmost section, as well as the northwest section called the Hinterland. And the Hinterland is the last area that I'm going to show you how to get to because, again, it requires that emote, but it also requires a specific way to get to it. So it's going to take a moment, but hopefully not too much longer. And I realize this video has been very long, but this map is so complex that, yeah, it's a doozy. All right, so as we approach the top, we will be in the loft of the Specimen Storehouse. Okay, and then we're going to turn left, and then there will be a site of grace right here, which is the Storehouse Loft site of grace. Again, you can see all the sites of grace in this area. This dungeon is insane. All right, so we're going to come up here to this ladder. There are some items and some enemies over there. Come over here to this ladder, and then through your adventures at the Specimen Storehouse, you may have noticed, like, hey, there's this big bookshelf with a ladder sticking out of it. How do I get over there? This is how. This is the bookshelf with the ladder sticking out of it, and this is how you get to the top. You may have also noticed the Mesmer Monk, or Fire Knight, or whatever these guys are called, sort of staring out of a window. And here he is. So I'm just going to backstab him real quick to kick him out so he doesn't harass us. Groovy. See you later. And we're going to come this way, go up this staircase. And we're going to come over here. And there's some items through that doorway, but our destination is actually right here, which is this section of the wall that's missing. So we're going to come over here, walk along this wooden platform. And then there's another site of grace right here, and this one is the Storehouse back section. Is this back section or loft? They're sort of right on top of each other. This one is loft, the other one was back section. Okay, so there's an elevator right here waiting for us. It may be the other elevator, but there's, you know, they're the same. Okie doke, we're gonna take this elevator up, and then there are gonna be some platforms for us to walk on up here in the rafters. There will also be some bats that will try to harass us. They may be successful. I really hope that they aren't, but just fair warning. I don't have my my great sword with vacuum slice equipped, so I don't even have Vacuum Slice on that weapon anymore. So we're gonna come over here, walk along this corner, and then we're going to drop onto this bat, who I will kill. Great. And then we're going to jump over here. And then the intended path is for you to walk around that corner and take that ladder. You can see it's guarded by a bat, so all I'm going to do is just jump. And then we're going to come down here, and then surprise, it's another elevator. And you can see just below us this green area of the Hinterland. You can also see this area over here. And that big moon-shaped building. Believe it or not, they are right next to each other. So come over here. Oddly enough, this door doesn't work. This door does exist on the other side within the building, but for some reason you don't open it from this side and the door never opens. Don't really know what that's about. Okay, so this elevator is really long, so I'm just going to teleport to where it spits you out, which is Shadowkeep Back Gate. But the elevator is right in front of the side of Grace, so there's really nothing missing from that teleport. Okay, so there will be a boss fog here. This is the boss to fight, or the boss fog to fight a boss named Commander Gaius. Once you kill him, go through there, and then there's a little bit more to find there. However, this section here will have a riddle on the ground that says, "Have mercy for the spirited away shamans." And so what you want to do is you want to stand here and use the emote, "Oh Mother," and then the statue will move. I believe the implication here, the idea behind this riddle, is that Marika is Messmer's mother. This is Messmer's keep. And also, she was from a village of shamans, which I believe we learned from the Newman's Rune item from the base game. So once that statue moves, you will have access to the Hinterland. And that is the final section of the map that you probably needed help to find. There is a site of grace right here. This area is teeming with enemies, most notably a double dose of tree sentinels. You can fight them one-on-one. One's hiding right behind that intersection. There'll be another one in that field. But that's it. That's the whole map. I hope this has been helpful to you. It is a very confusing map, especially topographically. There's so much to this map that's like underneath, you know, the ruins and the rivers and the abyssal woods. Like, there's just so much to this map that I found it really confusing to get around myself, and I figured others might as well. But that's it. Okay, I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to help you out. If you're looking for more guides for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, please subscribe to the channel so you get alerted when new guides go live. If you're interested in supporting the channel monetarily, please consider becoming a channel member by clicking the join button below this video. You can also leave a super thanks by clicking the heart icon below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. The link for that is in the description below. Actually, I'm not even on Twitter anymore. That's just a muscle memory phrase that I have said for the last 5 years. Not on Twitter anymore. Join the community Discord. Link is in the description below. As always, I'm SweetJohnnyCage. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.